Well, you have heard Robin Kraft's narration of that video. Now we're going to have him talk a little bit more about exactly how that works and what can be done with that sort of data. So, Robin, lay it out for us. We've seen the data, we've seen the pinpoints all over the map, we've seen the arrows that show where the hot spots are. How does the Center for Global Development envision this sort of technology being used?
What we think of this is as kind of an alarm system for forest cover loss. Some of it is deforestation according to a legal definition of illegal forest clearing, or some of it's just plantation harvesting. But what we identify is every month up through the present, basically up through October, and we're about to process data for all of November. You have an alarm system that tells you where scary stuff is happening, potentially scary stuff is happening. And so if you are on the ground in Indonesia, and this is going to be expanded to other countries in the tropics, and you are worried about what's going to happen inside of a protected area, and you see the deforestation sort of encroaching on your protected area, your conservation area, you can actually move your park rangers to try to cut that off. Go make sure that nobody actually enters the park. You can, or if you think that it's illegal activity, you can call the cops. So it really is an alarm system at very low cost on our end. It's cheap to process this data, but we're making it a free tool available to anyone who has internet access. So you can actually go to our website and browse around the Google Maps information and download the data yourself and really get an idea of where forest clearing is occurring all over Indonesia, and decide how best you want to react to it. And so we're in discussions with various organizations in the United States that work in Indonesia, and also with people that are on the ground in Indonesia on how they can best use this to really make a difference in the forest preservation in their area. This kind of information they just haven't had before. So because it's monthly, you can actually react instead of having to wait 5 years for the latest and greatest scientific data.
So just break it down a little bit. What is that scary stuff that you clearly you're not on the ground, you don't have to be because you have the satellite data, but you know the area. What is that scary stuff that may or may not be going when you see the green start to turn to brown?
So what you're seeing is forest. It's basically indicators of forest clearing activity. So you're seeing fires happening, you're seeing green turn to brown. People might be clearing the forest because they want to plant crops. This is just somebody's family. They want to clear a little section of the area of the forest, and so that they can grow crops for a few years, and then they'll move on to another area. That small-scale kind of information is not something that we're looking for. What we are really looking for, though, is large-scale industrial forest clearing, which is what paper companies might be doing, palm oil producers might be doing, and we want this information to be available to people who can actually go and check to make sure that that is actually where they should be doing the forest clearing, if they have a logging concession or a forest clearing concession, and if it is illegal, do something about it, and even if it's not illegal, have that information so that they can decide if that's something that they want to be happening in their area. They can talk to their local leaders and see, well, should we really be clearing this much forest? This is something that our livelihoods depend upon, and this is hurting the climate. Is this something we really want to do? And this information you can just download from the website. It's very easy.
What is the website?
cgdev.org/forest. That's cgdev.org/forest.
And this CGDev did I'm springing this one on you a little bit. CGDev did a program early called CARMA, the Carbon Monitoring for Action. Did this sort of idea develop out of that, the concept of monitoring what's going on around the world and letting people just use that data?
Yeah, it really did. The mastermind of this, David Wheeler, has worked for a long time on environmental transparency issues. So in his whole career, he's been really committed to making information about what's happening in the world available to as many people as possible. So CARMA was, it shows the CO2 emissions of 50,000 or more power plants all over the world, and shows it in an easy-to-use mapped format. You can download the data, you can see how much the local power plant is emitting, see how much power they're producing, and see what the local electric companies' emissions look like. And FORMA was really was a derivative of that in the sense that the idea of open monitoring and making data freely available and methods freely available to anyone really informed how we decided to do FORMA. And we're really committed to making this as freely and accessible as possible to anyone who's interested, because information does want to be free. I'm one of those people. And I think that having this kind of information available to as many people as possible really makes it easier to make sure that the governments that are doing the official monitoring are actually doing a good job, aren't trying to fudge the numbers. But it also is helpful for the governments themselves because it gives them a second piece of information, sort of a verification, or a hotspot, or an alarm system for them if they're interested. And we hope that they will be interested. So it's really something that people can use, from the person on the ground that wants to talk to their local leader to someone in the Ministry of Forestry who needs to write a report and just wants a little bit of information that they can get from our website for free in 5 minutes.
Very cool, very cool. We're living in a world now where information is available to everybody, but someone has to be there to sort of bring it all together and analyze it. It's not governments to keep the information anymore. It's the people that have access to it if someone's there to create a way to find it, to access it. So, and that's essentially what you guys are doing, it sounds like. That's great. Yep.
One clarification. We do want to say that there are a lot of people that are working on making this type of information freely available. This is one piece of a very large puzzle. You need to have people doing the extremely detailed baseline maps of forest cover, using radar to see through clouds, because that's a big issue. People are doing some incredible research at different universities and organizations across the world. And FORMA is really designed to complement those systems so that everyone has access to whatever information they have.
And this is a prototype, and you're going to be building it into other parts of the world over time?
Absolutely, absolutely. And Google actually just released a new platform for analyzing satellite imagery a few minutes ago that could be really useful, because we're talking about huge amounts of information, and if you're just running this on your home computer, it's going to take a while. You're going to be there for a couple of years. So that's something that's really exciting in terms of getting lots of data crunched so that you can produce these maps faster and more accurately.
Great. Well, we're going to be talking to a Central African forestry expert in a few moments, so stay tuned for that. I'll remind everyone, this is interactive. If you have any questions or thoughts on the issues, please post them at the OneClimate.net website or using Twitter, the hashtag OneClimate, and we'll pick those up. Robin Kraft, thank you very much for being here, for talking to us about this today, and we'll keep an eye on FORMA and see how that informs the negotiations.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.